that a cult class is a class where all of the people kind of join together. A lot of the time I think it's because the workload is kind of unique but also hard, and so they relate most to the people who are also taking that class.
My name is Greg Smith. I teach Super American History. It's all 11th grade. The question was, how challenging do I find the course for my students? Challenging. Yeah, I find it challenging. Again, you guys have heard a lot of this stuff already, but it's not for everybody. It's a matter of fit. What American history track can take. It's reading intensive. It's asking you to think a lot about things. It's, writing is a big part of the class and improving your historical writing. It's a college class, and I have college expectations. So.
My name is Dan Brownstein. I teach advanced geology and other classes. The grades that take advanced geo vary, but nearly 90% of them are sophomores. And students usually define a difficult class as one that has a lot of work, or tests are hard. I think it's a challenging class, but for different reasons than other classes that are challenging.
It wasn't an easy one.
And I just kind of fell apart during geo.
I think geo is a pretty hard class. It's like a struggle.
Advanced geo is definitely really hard.
I jokingly refer to it that way with my students, simply because it is a unique experience because the design of it is different than I think other classes. So by the time a student has gone through that, their experience is different than, say, their friends who aren't taking the class.
I think it becomes cult-like because, the class together gets stressed out and feels like everybody else is paid.
We do so much work for the class outside of school that we end up spending a lot of time together. And
It was definitely culty because the work was so hard that we could all cry together.
Probably part because there's only one advanced geo class, happens every year, and also because it's so difficult. I feel like everyone can people can talk to the people in the class about it, so they develop relationships with them and it becomes very close knit.
I think the students band together because there's this sense of it's a unique experience and you're different from your peers and the work is different.
Rather difficult, but definitely manageable. I think that my issues were always time management.
Supa was also really hard at times. When we wrote papers, it was hard.
I would say it's a pretty hard class. You definitely have to put a lot of effort into it and work hard.
A course that is an emotional investment, and I don't think every class students takes an emotional investment. And anytime you have an emotional investment, and anytime there's a lot of adversity in the class, in the beginning especially, everyone adjusting, and anytime you have an adverse situation with other people, there's a tendency to get closer to them. So it's a cult class in the sense that kids, I think, who take it feel a bond between each other, between myself, between other super classes. Now that I've taught it, I think this is the 8th year I've taught it. I certainly see that over the course of the years. It's some common ground. If you also took the class, there's definitely a connection there. So in that sense, I think it is sort of a cult class. Yeah.
I think for our year, our class is really small, which adds to the family feel of it. And it's very discussion based, so we all get to know each other really well, and I guess that's why.
It's a really small group of people who are kind of no one else knows what you're going through, and you're in it together, and it's just 25 of you or so.
classes become culty because the students form a certain bond over either the workload or the teacher.
Definitely the people who weren't in the classes, I definitely have received some negative comments in the past about when I've been in those classes, about those classes. I think that everyone in Hastings High School has probably heard someone in the hallway be like, Geo!
Yeah, I heard a lot of people talking about how they were so tired of hearing about how hard geo is.
There's like a lot of competition between like super kids and A-push kids, so like definitely like A-push kids would get like annoyed.
SUPA, I think it was just there's always a rivalry between AP and SUPA.
They find it annoying because we're always talking about how hard the class is. So, I don't know, they don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, not really. I guess a little bit as far as work management, and it also like made me more like okay with coming after school to see teachers.
I honestly don't know because I'm a sophomore and I don't really know what the work is like in college, but I feel like it'll help me.
At least I had something to go with, you know, because I knew how to like approach a 5 or 8 or 10 page paper, whereas like people around me really didn't. So in both the SUPA classes, we were always given just like these huge printed out, like weirdly written, like tiny text type of readings. And so I was really familiar with just like dissecting those and just like diving into them. But like at first, junior year, I was just like, what is this? It was like 80 pages of reading at least a night junior year. So I think that with my peers around me at college, like they were all like really overwhelmed by that. And while I had a lot of work and I was overwhelmed, that aspect of just like a lot of dense reading was really just like not scary for me. So, well, I just like really loved the teachers. I guess that kind of makes it culty too, because you're taking it for the teachers also. I loved Mr. Smith, but he was just so patient and just like, it was so much fun.
I'd heard things about geo in the grade above us. They kind of like either people complaining about it being kind of like a cliquey cult class or people in it saying that they all got really close. And I definitely felt that in geo a lot. And I know that the people around me also probably felt it. I didn't really know that SUPA was gonna be the way it was. But I do think it was kind of that way. Also, we like went on a lot of trips together and like did cool stuff out of school together in both of them. But that was something that I guess I didn't perceive before.
I structured the class very much around student growth, like the goal being individual growth rather than necessarily achieving a certain grade. In fact, I try very hard not to focus on actual grades. And in the end, my grading is actually very flexible. So I think the pressure starts becoming internal for a lot of students to generate the best work they can. I think they know my expectations are high and I'm holding them to a very high standard. And it seems that they usually want to meet that standard. So I think that's where the pressure comes. I also think that there's a lot of self-generated psychosis that goes on in there. Like I try to calm kids down all the time. But, you know, ongoing Snapchats and Instagrams doesn't help when they're studying and they're, you know, exaggerating the level of anxiety they're feeling, and then it just builds and builds and builds. So I think a lot of it can be student generated.
Geo!